All right, welcome to episode 47 of the Ridiculously Lame Wrestling Show. We're going to be going over the November 11th episode of Raw from Grand Rapids, Michigan. They apparently are taping next week's episode of Raw now. I hate these double tapings. I hate now that we have to avoid spoilers online again for a full week for next week's show. It's annoying. These Saudi Arabia shows and the domino effect on the scheduling really pisses me off. But let's go over tonight's show. A decent show, some boring ass parts dragged in the middle, but I thought the opening segment was great, and we'll start there. Gunther comes down to the ring. Damian Priest won the Fatal 4-Way match last week to earn another title shot against Gunther. He lost the World Heavyweight Championship to Gunther at SummerSlam because Finn Balor betrayed him. Balor, who still is just fuming that Priest is close to getting the title. There's some tension within the Judgment Day. We'll get to that later in the show, but Gunther kicked off Raw. He was interrupted by Damian Priest right away, and I thought this was one of Damian Priest's best promos since he's been in WWE. He was well-spoken, clear, just totally just decimated Gunther and just said, you've lost your aura, you're afraid, you're nervous, you're petrified that you can't beat me because you had to rely on Finn Balor. That's the only reason that you're World Heavyweight Champion is because Finn Balor screwed me over at SummerSlam. And Gunther is visibly shaken. Gunther's going through some kind of character change here. We talked about he basically told Ludwig Kaiser to shut the hell up, and he was putting over Cody Rhodes after Crown Jewel. He said, well, Cody Rhodes is the better man. I have to improve. And then he also was giving Ludwig Kaiser shit and saying, well, we both have to improve because Kaiser lost to Sheamus. Then Kaiser stuck his nose in Gunther's business again tonight. He comes down to the ring in a sweater, with a turtleneck sweater, and he's just bitching about Damian Priest. How dare you, insult the ring general? And there's this ridiculous promo that he cut. And then Gunther put the hand over the microphone like this and pulled it down and told Kaiser to shut up again. And then Damian Priest leveled Kaiser, and Gunther watched. Gunther didn't do anything. Damian Priest clotheslined Kaiser out of the ring. Gunther had multiple opportunities to take a cheap shot or just go toe-to-toe with Priest. He retreated. So Gunther's going through something here. I don't know if it's a babyface change. We'll see where this is going. But I think Ludwig Kaiser should be a star. I think he's going to be a star. And by next year, I think he's going to be a champion of some sort. The United States, Intercontinental, I don't know about world champion, but we'll see. He has the potential. And if they do a Ludwig Kaiser versus Gunther feud and he's the one to dethrone him, if they somehow can tell that story over the next several months, I'm interested. So there was a through line tonight on Raw throughout the whole show. Sami Zayn and the Usos are trying to find a fifth member for their WarGames match against the Bloodline. I thought that it was going to be 4v4 or there was an outside possibility that they'd change it to 4v4. They're not. It's going to be 5v5, the WarGames match on November 30th. Sami Zayn said he might know somebody, and that's where he left it. He said he'll text Jey Uso because he's still bickering with Jimmy Uso, but he met with someone later in the show, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Yet another tease of the New Day breaking up. Kofi Kingston was arguing with Pete Dunne backstage. He was conversing with R-Truth originally, then Pete Dunne shows up and gets pissed. R-Truth calls him Butch. Pete Dunne, loses his mind, leads to Kingston and Dunne arguing, and they challenges him to a singles match. Dunne accepts. Xavier Woods standing right there. He's like, what the hell are you doing? You don't need to fight tonight. He's just obsessed with the New Day becoming champions, and he thinks Kofi Kingston keeps getting distracted by other things. So they have this singles match. And Kingston's fully in control, and Xavier Woods starts bickering with him outside the ring. They start shouting and getting in each other's faces. Dunne capitalizes, hits the bitter end for the pinfall victory. Woods is helping Kofi Kingston after the match to the back, and Kofi shoves him away and says, what the hell are you doing? And so there's clearly just this never-ending tease of the New Day breaking up. I don't know when the Raw tribute for their 10-year anniversary show is. I don't know if they've announced that yet, but it's got to be soon because they can't drag this out for too much longer. It's not next week, but who knows when it is. But they're either breaking up there or Big E is showing up and he's cleared to return and they're going to reunite. That's what I think is happening, but they should break up. And shout out to Xavier Woods. The dude looks jacked. He's ready for a singles run. Let me get to one of my favorite moments of tonight's show. Finn Balor is just being a total jackass douchebag backstage, just bitching about Dominik Mysterio failing last week in the Fatal 4-Way and Damian Priest being one step closer to becoming World Heavyweight Champion again. Balor's the reason Damian Priest is not World Heavyweight Champion, and if he defeats Gunther, he's got the title back. So Balor's just pissed off, bitching about Dominik Mysterio, saying, "I thought you could handle Damian Priest on your own." Dominik then responds, "Well, I've beaten Damian Priest, so don't get mad at me for doing something that you can't. Don't get mad at me because I'm closer to the World Heavyweight Championship than you've been in months." And Balor said, "You want to say that again to my face, kid? Come nose to nose." Liv Morgan breaks him up, shouting, "We're family, guys. We're family. Everybody calm down." And then Balor suggests, "Well, if we're family, how about Carlito and Dominik Mysterio versus the War Raiders next week? Because the Judgment Day's JD McDonough and Balor are set to face the War Raiders and defend the titles probably at Survivor Series. It'd be like their first title defense since winning it in May. The worst tag team champions of all time, Balor and McDonough. Just terrible. Triple H just totally neglected that World Tag Team Championship, the tag team division on Raw. It's just totally neglected. The men's tag team division on Raw, I should say, because the women's tag team champions, it was the main event tonight. But yeah, Balor and Mysterio coming nose to nose. I like the idea of that being a feud someday, that being some kind of dissension, Dominik Mysterio rising up the ranks. He could be a World Heavyweight Champion someday. Who knows? He's only 27. He's getting better, and the crowd loves him. He's a made man in that regard. So why not? Why couldn't Dominik Mysterio be a World Heavyweight Champion someday? I don't think Finn Balor's ever winning that title ever again. So yeah, he had that one reign as Universal Champion, got injured, had to, relinquish it due to the injury, and he's just never been back in that main event scene. And I would love to see Dominik Mysterio use Finn Balor as a stepping stone to get himself there, and maybe next year that could be a great rivalry. I'm just thinking ahead, but I love that little seed planted tonight of dissension with Balor and Mysterio, them coming face to face. And Mysterio said, "I'll go talk to Adam Pearce and make that match official for the War Raiders next week." Mysterio and Carlito versus the War Raiders. I'm wondering if Mysterio and Carlito beat them. They can't. They could not do that before the title match. But if they beat them, maybe they could hold that over Balor's and McDonough's heads if the War Raiders won the titles. But I can't imagine they're going to have the War Raiders lose to Mysterio and Carlito. That would be on the road to their title match. That would be a pretty bummer of a build. Bronson Reed cut a promo tonight. He had ruined the Fatal 4-Way match last week. He had Rollins with a tsunami splash off the table, attacked Sheamus, attacked Damian Priest, but Dominik Mysterio was the only one who got away scot-free because he hid behind the ring until Reed left through the crowd. But he comes to the ring tonight to cut a promo, calls out Seth Rollins, said, "If you want your revenge, come down to the ring and get it." Rollins starts dancing on the entrance ramp at first, then rushes the ring. They brawl. Reed set up for another tsunami splash on the table, but Rollins got out of the way and then ran across the announce table and tackled Reed into the timekeeper's area. We got 100,000 security guards all of a sudden. Adam Pearce is shouting again. They finally break it up. They cut backstage after a commercial. Rollins says, "I want Bronson Reed again. One more match." And Pearce is livid. He said, "You know what? Fine. Next week you got your match, and then I'm done. I'm done with this." He's really furious in this segment. But Rollins and Reed again next week. Should be good. Their match at Crown Jewel was great. I just wanted Bronson Reed to get the win. I don't want to see Bronson Reed take another loss here. So I have no idea. I would hate to see that. But Bronson Reed should win this match, in my opinion. But he'll probably give Rollins another win because he's heading towards a feud with somebody, with CM Punk maybe. Or he's been... Then we'll get to this next segment because Seth Rollins was a huge part of tonight's show. After this skirmish, after they brawl, after Adam Pearce announced the match, Sami Zayn shows up out of nowhere. He said, "Hey, I know that you have your bitter enemies with Roman Reigns now, but there's at some level, somewhere, there's got to be a family bond because you guys spent so much time in the Shield together." And I thought I hated Roman Reigns too, but I didn't because it felt special competing with him. It felt special in the ring with him on SmackDown and at Crown Jewel. And he asked Rollins to be the 5th member of their team at WarGames, and Rollins said, "You must be out of your mind." Absolutely not. I will never team with Roman Reigns again, and I can't believe that anybody wants to team with Roman Reigns. He's using you, Sami, to prop himself up. I can't believe you can't see that. It was just the most blatant rejection I've ever seen. Just absolutely not. You're out of your damn mind. There was no gray area. Rollins was not interested at all. Later in the show, the Bloodline, Solo Sikoa, and Jacob Fatu in the parking lot. A couple weeks ago, they're talking to Sami Zayn on Raw in the parking lot. This week, they're talking to Seth Rollins. This was Kathy Kelly trying to get one last comment from Rollins at the end of the show, rushing with him in the parking lot. He said, "Hang on, Kathy," and walked over to Sikoa and Fatu. They asked Seth Rollins if he wanted to be on their WarGames team. And Rollins was like, "Hey, look, I hate Roman Reigns. The next time I'm in the ring with him, I am stomping his head into the canvas. I vow I will never team with Roman Reigns for as long as I live ever again. But I certainly don't want to team with a wannabe Roman Reigns." And Jacob Fatu gets pissed, so Sikoa holds him back. That line, "I certainly don't want to team with a wannabe Roman Reigns." What a line by Rollins. I have no idea what they're going to do with Rollins at Survivor Series. I thought it might be Reed and Rollins again at Survivor Series. They're doing that match next week. So, who knows? This is interesting. I'm really intrigued to see where this goes. Who winds up joining the two teams? Jimmy Uso said, can I have a conversation to Bron Breakker later in the show? So maybe Bron Breakker wants to join the OG Bloodlines team at WarGames. That would be weird, but they have teased Jacob Fatu versus Bron Breakker, and what a match that will be when that eventually happens. But I don't think, can't be Bron Breakker. He's a heel on a babyface team. That would be idiotic. So I don't know what Jimmy Uso wanted to talk to Bron Breakker about, but we'll just cover that now. Bron Breakker was interviewed backstage. He was bitching about Sheamus in his match for the WWE Speed Tournament, going to a time limit draw, resulting in them both being eliminated. He called Sheamus ugly and an old bastard or whatever. Said he prevented me from capturing my second title. I should be a double champion. Sheamus shows up, calls Breakker, young, arrogant, and said, you have the one title I've never held in my career, and I want to challenge you for it. And Breakker says, "Buddy, I haven't been listening to a single damn word you said. But if you said something about facing me for the Intercontinental Championship next week, you're on." So that match is next week, too. So we get Seth Rollins versus Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker versus Sheamus for the IC title next week. That's a hell of an episode of Raw, as I'm complaining about it being taped, but it should be a good show. Following up on Damian Priest just making a mockery of Gunther earlier in the show in the opening promo, just totally schooling him. He wound up beating Ludwig Kaiser in that singles match. It was a good back and forth match. Kaiser's a terrific talent. I still think he's going to be a star, but he took the loss tonight, as he should have, because Damian Priest is fighting for the World Heavyweight Championship soon at Survivor Series. Priest hit the South of Heaven chokeslam for the pinfall victory. Gunther, after the match, he shows up on the entrance ramp. He's like overly nervous looking. Like he looks like he's just so uncomfortable looking at Damian Priest. Like he's just really worried that he can't beat this guy. It feels a little out of nowhere that all of a sudden Gunther is just fearful of Damian Priest. That feels a little bit out of nowhere to me. I don't understand where that came from, but I get it that they're trying to make Gunther vulnerable, as he should. He lost to Cody Rhodes at Crown Jewel, the Crown Jewel Championship match. He should be vulnerable. He's beatable. It's a new character for, same with Roman Reigns. He's beatable. But Gunther's still the World Heavyweight Champion. He still has Ludwig Kaiser by his side, although there's some tension there. But he could just cheat to defeat Damian Priest and become a full-blown heel again. Or we're going through some kind of character change with Gunther, and he's going to be a babyface out of this somehow and shake hands with Damian Priest if he loses or beats him. I have no idea where this is going, but I'm intrigued. Gunther's certainly not boring to me. I've seen some people say that online. I couldn't disagree more. He's tremendous in the ring, and now we have some interesting character traits with him. Is he losing his mind? Is he losing everything? Is he falling apart? Is he choking as World Heavyweight Champion, or is this all just a ruse and he's going to beat Damian Priest by cheating, or just fair and square and prove to himself that he's the better man? We'll see, but I'm at least interested. Another storyline I'm interested in is the Wyatt Sicks and the Final Testament and whatever the hell is going on with The Miz here. The Miz was kidnapped by Dexter Lumis a couple weeks ago. Last week, we get a creepy VHS tape from the Wyatt Sicks where they're got The Miz with tape over his mouth and they're interviewing him, but we didn't really learn anything. The Miz is just backstage tonight, walking in the hallway, carrying a cross on the Final Testament, show up and go, what's going on? Where are the Wyatt Sicks? We need to get revenge. We need to avenge the attack on Paul Ellering. That's why I sent you to go look for him originally. What are you doing here? What happened? And the Miz said, hey, I apologize to the Wyatt Sicks. Everything's good. It's water under the bridge. You need to do the same. We need to move on. I'm going to talk to Adam Pearce right now and ask for a leave of absence. Karrion Kross flips out, and he said, that's not happening. And he drags the Miz to the ring with the Authors of the Pain. Somehow the Miz got cut open, it looked like, or he was crying blood. It was a crazy visual for a while. And then the Wyatt Sicks show up to help the Miz, because in storyline, the Miz apologized, and they're bonded now. Well, that was not the case. It was a trap by the Miz. The Miz snuck back into the ring, hit Eric Rowan first with a chair from behind. Uncle Howdy too. Karrion Kross laughing. The Final Testament beats the shit out of the Wyatt Sicks, and they go to leave the ring in control. And he looked back, and all of a sudden, Uncle Howdy's cracking up in the ring. He's having a great time, just laughing to himself after getting the shit kicked out of him, just laughing by himself against the ropes. I don't know why, but this storyline's working for me, mainly because of Karrion Kross and the Miz. Karrion Kross, I think, has been great in this role. He's this shouting psychopath with deep thoughts from time to time. I think is the best character for Karrion Kross as a heel. He's pulling it off. He's making the Final Testament interesting, and I never thought that would be the case. We'll see where this goes with the Miz from here. He's better as a heel if he's continuing to work with the Final Testament, but he's made this storyline interesting as well. Finally, we have the Women's Tag Team Championship match. Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair defended the titles against Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan. A bunch of people got involved in this match. It was just interference galore. Tiffany Stratton, Nia Jax, Naomi, Io Sky, everybody's getting involved. And then the finish comes down to Belair is in the ring with Morgan, and she hits Morgan with the KOD for the pinfall victory. So Belair and Cargill are still the Women's Tag Team Champions. And maybe I'm crazy, but if I were booking this match, I would have Raquel Rodriguez take the pinfall, because I don't know, she's not the Women's World Champion or the Women's Crown Jewel Champion. Why are we pinning the champion here? Why can't Rodriguez take that pin? It's just a weird decision to have Liv Morgan be pinned by Bianca Belair, and I'm sick of Cargill and Belair as Women's Tag Team Champions. I don't feel like it's accomplishing anything right now. They're fine, but I'm ready for new champions, and Rodriguez and Morgan would have been interesting to see where that goes and who tries to take them down. But this whole thing was weird. It's like, why is Nia Jax? She should hate Morgan too. She's helping Morgan and Rodriguez against Belair and Cargill. She didn't attack Morgan during this match. She just faced her at Crown Jewel. It's just stupid. But Belair and Cargill are still the Women's Tag Team Champions, and overall, decent episode of Raw. I am bummed that next week's episode is taped, but hopefully it still delivers. Hopefully it's still a good show. I'm sure it will be. But that is it for this episode of the Ridiculously Lame Wrestling Show. Thank you so much for watching, and subscribe if you haven't.